Alright, we're back on the spindle for that wood finish mower. You can see I got it all painted up and everything. I went ahead and got the pulley all painted up too. So we're pretty much ready to start assembling everything. So I got me some new bearings, braces and everything, so we're ready to start assembling this thing here. And we're going to go ahead and put the race in first. Alright, we're going to just go ahead and tap these in. I could set it up in the press, but there's not really a need for doing the race. So one of the things you can do too is you can use one of the older races, stick him in there, and then use that to tap on too. Looks like it's seated in there. Where is it? Okay, now that we got the race in there, it's basically we got to start getting this on. So since we have new bearings, we have to pack them. And you know, these new bearings, packing them can kind of get greasy. But one of the things that I do have is a bearing packer. So this will make it a little bit easier for us. All you do is stick him down in there, put this guy on top, and you just squeeze. And she's packed. Now I'm going to get rubber gloves on. Alright, so now that we got it packed, we can just drop this guy right in here. That's the downfall with anything with grease. You know, it's going to make a mess. What we're going to do is we're going to get the other bearing out and go ahead and get it packed. That way it's ready for us. And it's the same thing, obviously. Alright. Alright, now that we got that bearing packed, we're going to go ahead and just set it aside since we're not ready for this one yet. Get him over there. We'll go ahead and get this put away. That way it's out of our hair. Alright, next thing is to get one of these seals installed here. And honestly, there's not really much to hold this seal in. Yeah, there's not much to hold that seal in at all. Actually, I don't like it. Alright everyone, I kind of ran into a problem with this, and I actually didn't film making the piece because I'm running behind a little bit, so I'm trying to hurry up and get it done. But remember, I brazed this up in here and then I turned it back down for the seal. Well, what happened was this whole end here is wore down and it doesn't allow enough room for the seal in there. And I checked it over here on the spindle and there's plenty of room for all this, so I don't know if, you know, this tab on this thing here, you know, got there, bent, and just wore this whole end down. I'm not completely sure. So what I did was, you know, I measured from this lip up to this lip, and then from this lip up to here, and then on this side, I ended up making this sleeve right here, this whole sleeve, and turned the inside of this down so this would press down in here. So you can see it's two pieces here now, and I pressed this guy down inside here, and then I'm going to take and, unfortunately I painted this already, so I'm going to have to take and burn it off and clean it off, but I'm going to take and braze this whole way around since it's cast iron. So in fact, it fits tight enough. I probably don't have to, but a little bit around here is probably going to do wonders. You can see inside here, this is where the old bearing surface is. So I made this diameter same as that, and I made this lip from here to here exactly the same as what the other side is, and then the same as this, you know, from here to here is exactly the same as the other side. So this surface here was the original surface, so you can see it's almost a ½ inch that it wore off. I'm kind of surprised at that, so I'm hoping that we can save this. I don't see why we can't by doing it this way. So I'm going to start pushing, or getting this heated up, and we're going to braze this around here. I might do that off camera real quick and get it done. Then I'll bring you back and we'll go ahead and start putting all the bearings and getting everything in. And also this guy, this tab over here, I'm either going to pull it out and bend it on, that way it goes on the outside of this. I think all this is for is anytime you mow, most of you guys know, you end up finding rope, string, yarn, whatever in the field. Even the grass will get caught up and catch around a spindle. Well, I think this here is to help kind of get it cut away from the spindle, that way it doesn't get in here and eat the seal. So I think so we're pretty much ready. Other than that, I'm gonna, like I said, need to brace this up, but I just figured I'd give you a quick update. So I'll bring you back when we start putting it back together. I'm probably gonna go ahead and, like I said, braze this around, and then I'll probably go ahead and repaint it. I have plenty of paint, so that isn't a problem. And then after that, we'll be ready to assemble. I might have to chuck it in the lathe and turn this side down, or I just might use the sanding disc and just grind it down somewhat decent. I'm not sure yet. So until then. All right, everyone, we're back here. This is the end that was repaired, and honestly, you can't tell. But I went ahead and pushed all the races in already, so both races are in, you can see. So now let's just assemble it. So we already packed the bearings last time we was here, so these we can just drop right in, and then we'll get the seal on. Alright, in fact I'm going to set this back here, give me a little bit more. Alright, so the seal's in. And I think the seal needs to go down a little bit farther. Probably just a hair more. So what I'm looking at, you can't really see it, but the seal's supposed to ride on this lip here, but this top here is a bearing stop. So I need to make sure that that bearing and that seal rides right. That's why I knocked it down just a little bit farther down. So next we're going to go ahead and slide this down over and get this bearing pressed on there. And then we'll do the top side. Okay, we should be able to just set this right down on. And we have to get past the first bearing. Like this is a bearing seat. So the first bearing seat's up there. So I went ahead and made a tube to slide down over here. That way you're pressing on the bearing, but not the bearings itself. So let's say it should go soon. And there it went. And then we'll just drive her home. And it looks like I need a little bit more pipe or something here. Actually, I don't need a piece of pipe. I forgot when I measured this that whenever it hits the top of this, that means that bearing is seated properly down there. So this is done. But now we can take this bearing here. And what I meant before about pushing on the bearing is you never want to push on the outer part of the bearing. So this tube actually fits perfectly right there, so it sits on the bearing itself. It sits on, you know, the metal part and not the actual rollers, because you never want to push against the rollers. So whenever I pushed it the other way, it was sitting right there. And now I'm going to push it this way, and this will fit. You can see it perfectly over that. Sometimes you can get away with pushing on the rollers or the balls in a bearing, but you really never want to do that. And that one you just drive it down until it sits, and you can see it's real nice there. So here's the seal lip, or the seal ring. This is what the lip of the seal itself rides on. I already pushed that one down on. So this guy, and it's a light press too. Just like that. And then the other bearing. And I'm gonna just going to walk this one down this way. It's not really the right and proper way to do it, but it won't hurt it. Alright, and what I'm watching for is that seal lip in there. I want to make sure it gets sit down in the right spot, which I see it's trying to kick over. So if I was to do this again, I would probably press the seal in and then push the seal lip in. So I'm going to try to just push that lip down. And it went right down in there. So that's one way you could do it. So and it's all the way down. So pretty much this is done. And the reason why this seal sits down in there so far is because this bearing, or the nut that goes over top of it, goes all the way down on top of that. It actually has, you can see a raised lip here, and that's to bite against that or press against that. Because keep in mind, that's what adjusts the sloppiness and your tension on your bearings itself, is that this nut. It's just like a wheel bearing on a car. Well, I should say that differently. The older wheel bearings on vehicles, you know, they used to have bearing and race too, and you tighten them up so much and then you back them off a little bit. This is the exact same setup. So we're just going to run this down. I think that's all the tighter I'm going to tighten it for now. Like I said, they're not really supposed to be that crazy tight, but I can feel it has a nice drag on it already. And so what we'll probably do is, whenever we get it all assembled and actually back on the mower, we'll come and check and make sure that this is tight again, you know, and check the slop and stuff in it. But it shouldn't move much from here. Yeah, that's plenty tight enough in my opinion. So one of the things that I had to buy that I didn't have was the set screw, and there's a little brass plug that goes in here, and the purpose of this plug is, if you remember, this is a nut, so there's threads on that. So this brass plug is to go against the threads, that way you don't mar up the threads, because if you would put the set screw in there and crank her down, you're going to ruin those threads, and then you're going to have a heck of a time trying to get this nut off. So there it is, it's just a little brass plug. Just stick that guy in there. And we can go ahead and put this set screw in. And this, you don't want to go crazy tight. Yeah, see, that's plenty. So basically this is all done. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead and put the blades on. I made new pins for here. Here's the two pins that I had made. The old pins, you can see there was no lip up here, and this looks like something that somebody had and they just kind of made it work. But it's supposed to have a lip up here, and from what I can measure, this is supposed to be 1 inch and this is 0.8 or 0.875. So they fit down in there nice and snug, and they stop. So it actually should be a little bit better. So we'll go ahead and get the blades put on and get these stops put on too. Alright, so here's the blades. I went ahead and touched the edge up here real quick since I had them off. I didn't want to grind a ton off of them, but these blades, even though they look this way, they're actually installed this way. They even have a thing on them that says, you know, this side down right here, but they get installed this way. So they look like they're upside down, but they're really not. That's the way the machine is designed. And looking on the internet, I read a little bit about it. These blades are designed like that so they can hit some stuff and not really dull the blade as much. So these are pretty simple. Just drop the pins in. And these get flipped over. This pin's sticking up a little bit. And then drop our new bolts in. Let me get a wrench. These blades are also, if you notice, they're meant to kick back, and that's in case you hit something pretty hard that it doesn't damage anything else. I'm not saying it still can't, but if it hits something hard, it'll fling back, then the centrifugal force will bring it back whenever you get past that object or whatever. So we're pretty much done here. There's not a whole lot more to do here. The pulleys and stuff, they get installed on the machine. So all right, one of the last things that we need to do before we go too much farther here is put the grease fitting in and then throw some grease to it. I'm going to kind of show you how the whole pulley setup gets installed. In fact, I might make it finger tight. That way, whenever we get it there, I don't lose any parts and pieces. But this pulley actually sits down over top. Then there's a keyway here. This guy gets installed. In fact, I'm going to get some anti-seize before I go too much farther here. All right. So we're going to set this back down over again. We're going to set this down over. Where's the keyway? Let's get that lined up. So the way this works is this piece here is tapered. So whenever you put these 3 bolts in here, it pulls this pulley up, and the pulley itself is tapered. And so it makes a nice tight squeeze fit on the shaft. Plus it's all keyed, so that also helps too. So I think what we're going to do is I need to get some bolts for that. I didn't realize I didn't have them set out here. So there's one. And the reason this bolt here is a little bit longer is the housing up here is cracked. And previous owner, whoever it was, you know, they beat on a little bit and kind of damaged it, but so you can see how it's cracked. And I wasn't going to braze and fix that all up. I didn't really see a need for it. So just a little bit longer bolt in there will be fine. All right. Okay, and that's all the farther I'm going to take that, because like I said, I'm only doing this for transportation. I don't want to lose anything in between. So the next thing we need to do is put grease in it. Otherwise, we are good to go. And there we go. So that's pretty much how to do everything here. I just figured I would show you as well. If you need the bearing numbers, part numbers, whatever here, I use National bearings here. I like Timken. National's a good bearing too. Same part number, by the way. So the National part number for the race. This is the bearing, and the seal is an SKF, and there's the part number for that. So I hope you enjoyed. Take care. I'll list these part numbers in the description down below if you need them as well. It's the same bearing and race, seal, everything top and bottom, so if you need that. So I hope you had enjoyed. Until next time, take care.